Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian from Zombie Guitar here. This lesson is on the Mixolydian mode, okay? So this is the A Mixolydian mode. I was improvising in the beginning using the A Mixolydian mode, and as we've been doing throughout this whole series, we've been doing all A type of modes, okay? So we did A Ionian, A Dorian, A Phrygian, A Lydian, and excuse me, and now this is A Mixolydian, all right? So let's get on to the scale formula. Okay, so the scale formula for the Mixolydian mode is very similar to the major scale. All right, just like the Lydian mode was very similar to the major scale, the Mixolydian is also similar. So if you look at the major scale formula, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And in order to make that the Mixolydian mode, you would flatten the 7th degree. So the formula for the Mixolydian mode is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. Okay, and that flat 7 is the note that gives the Mixolydian its particular flavor. Okay, so now let's give the two a side by side and hear what they both sound like. So here would be your A major scale. Okay, now here's your Mixolydian mode, your A Mixolydian mode. Okay, that one note is the note that makes the difference, and it's the flavor note. Alright, so let's try playing the Mixolydian through 2 octaves now, going from A to A. Okay, so that is, you can hear the difference between the major scale and the Mixolydian mode just by that one note. Okay, so now let's go on to some common uses. Okay, so now let's take a look at the notes that are in the A Mixolydian mode. You have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G. Okay, and this only differs from the A major scale by that one note. If this was the major scale, that G at the end would be a G sharp. Okay, so the only difference is that note. So you can build chords from those 7 notes just as you would in any other mode or scale. Okay, and you know, you would see what types of chords come out, and then you would use those for your use with the Mixolydian mode. But as I said in the previous lessons on the modes, generally chord progressions that consist of any more than 2 chords generally start having the sound of either major or minor. Modal sounds generally work best over 1 to 2 chords max. Okay, not always, there's exceptions to every rule, but in general, modes work best over 1 or 2 chords. So, for the Mixolydian mode, this works great over just one single chord, and that one chord being dominant chords. So, if you find that there's a chord progression going on, and you see a dominant chord in that mix, or in that, you know, in the progression, whether that dominant chord is diatonic to the progression or not, the Mixolydian mode will work over that one particular chord very well. Okay, so even if it's an out-of-key random dominant chord and it's just thrown into the progression, you can use the Mixolydian mode over that one dominant chord. Okay, excuse me. So, in the beginning I was just playing the A7, A dominant 7 chord over and over. I had it looped on my looper pedal. Okay, I was just playing the A dominant 7. Alright, and the notes of that are A, C sharp, E, and G. Okay, and that G, that's the 7th degree, that's the flattened 7th, and that's what makes the Mixolydian mode the Mixolydian mode. Okay, so So in this case, because it was an A dominant 7, I was using the A Mixolydian mode. If there was a random C dominant 7 chord thrown into a progression, then over that one chord I would use the C Mixolydian mode. Okay, so that's the most common use for the Mixolydian mode, is over dominant 7th chords. All right, now let's take a look at some pentatonics that this would work with. Okay, use with pentatonics. So since this is a major type of mode, okay, you could use directly with it the A major pentatonic scale. Okay, but just keep in mind that the A major pentatonic scale would be neglecting the one note that makes the Mixolydian mode the Mixolydian. Okay, it would be neglecting the flattened 7th note. Okay, but you could still use it as a temporary means if you wanted to just go and use do some of your trusty old pentatonic licks. Okay, and of course A major pentatonic and F sharp minor pentatonic are the same thing. So okay, so either of those patterns, okay, would work. So A major pentatonic, F sharp minor pentatonic, exact same notes, blah blah blah. You could also simply just count back 3 frets, go down to your 2nd fret, and then apply your pentatonic box there. Okay, but just keep in mind again, whichever pattern you do, you can do all the patterns of the pentatonic, you're still neglecting that one note that makes it the Mixolydian. You're neglecting that flattened 7 note, that note G. Okay, so you do want to add that in from time to time if you are going to reduce the pentatonics and you still want to have the Mixolydian sound. Okay, so here's just like a little example of what reducing to pentatonics would work. I'll start out doing a little Mixolydian stuff, and then I'll kind of just throw in the pentatonic, and you'll see how they both fit together nicely. Okay, so as you can see there, what I was doing was started out just doing the Mixolydian mode, doing the full scale, using all the notes, and then I kind of just reduced it to pentatonic, all right? And the pentatonic that I used was the A major pentatonic / F sharp minor pentatonic. I used those patterns, okay? The parent scale of this particular mode, the parent scale of the A Mixolydian mode is D major though, okay? Not A major, D major. But the A major / F sharp minor pentatonic scale works, okay? But again, keeping in mind that the one note is missing, the one flat 7 note, the G in this case, is missing. So if you are going to reduce the pentatonics, you can still, all the licks and phrases will work, but you do want to throw in that flat 7 from time to time to really get the Mixolydian flavor, okay? But that's just a way to mix up with pentatonics. Alright, so let's get on to soloing over the entire fretboard using the A Mixolydian mode with the fretboard diagram on the screen. Okay, so here you see the A Mixolydian spanned over the entire fretboard. Here's the one position that we looked at already. Okay. And all these other positions, patterns, whatever you want to call them, they're all available. And as I said, this is the parent scale for this mode would be D major. So right up here you have your D major pattern. But your tonality is A. Okay, so the home note is not D, the home note is A. That's just your parent scale, your parent major scale. Okay, so any of these positions patterns would work. So I'm just going to do a little improv, kind of moving up and down some various patterns on here and see what I'm doing and just follow along and look at the fretboard diagram. So here it goes. Okay, so that was the Mixolydian mode played over the whole fretboard, and as you can see, I was playing in a few different areas of the fretboard. I wanted to show that, number one, here's your D major scale, otherwise known as your D major scale pattern. But of course the tonality, the home note, is the note A within that pattern, but that's your D major scale if you were to just look at your D major scale alone. I also showed that there's your pentatonic pattern right here. Okay, but of course the A within that pattern is your tonal center. Alright, so that was the Mixolydian mode, spanned over the entire fretboard. You can use whatever position, whatever pattern you want, whatever notes within that you want. That's the A Mixolydian mode. That's the sound of the Mixolydian mode, okay? So that concludes it for this lesson. That is part 5. We still have the Aeolian mode and the Locrian mode to go, and that's going to be all 7 of the modes and what they sound like. Alright, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and as always, thanks for watching.